Now let's take a look at the last one. In the last one, all the variables are in the denominator. We're asked to find for the variable c. Well, every single problem we're doing works the same. If you have fractions, the first thing you do is you get rid of the fractions. Now, we would have to make a note here. The note would have to be that neither a, nor b, nor c could be 0. Because if you divide by 0, your expression is undefined. So we're going to be doing this problem assuming that a, b, and c are all non-zero. Okay, next thing we have to do is locate our common denominator so we can eliminate fractions. Well, the common denominator has to have an a in it to get rid of the a. It has to have a 2 in it and a b in it to get rid of the 2b, and it has to have a c in it, so the common denominator is 2abc. So I'm going to get rid of my denominators by multiplying every term by that common denominator, and I'm going to need some room, so I'm going to rewrite this, leaving enough room in here to multiply every term by that common denominator. See the gaps I'm leaving? That is for multiplying by that common denominator. Some people do it in a funky way. They try to squeeze it in to a real tight form like this one up here. And when they do that, they end up making mistakes. It's better to rewrite it, give yourself room, and properly write in that common denominator, 2abc times the first term, 2abc times the second term, 2abc times the third term. And when you write it in neatly like this, it's really easy to tell what cancels. The a on the bottom cancels the a on the top. That leaves you with 2 times b times c, or 4bc. In the second term, the 2 on the bottom cancels the 2 on the top, the b on the bottom cancels the b on the top, and you're left with 3ac. In the last term, the c on the bottom cancels the c on the top, so you're left with 8ab. Now, don't lose sight of the prize. We are solving for c, and we need, what happened there? We are solving for c, so we need to get all our c terms on one side and all our non-c terms on the other side. It really doesn't make any difference which side we get our c terms on. If I move the 3ac over to the left, that's okay, but my 8ab will be negative. No real problem there. I'm going to move my 3ac to the left. That only has me moving one term. Something's gone wrong with my little pen here. Let's see why it's not working. Okay, I've got my pen back now. I'm going to move the 3ac term over to the left by subtracting 3ac from both sides. My pen doesn't seem to be producing quite as nice a image as it did before, but that's okay. So we have on the left side 4bc minus 3ac, and on the right side we have negative 8ab. And step 3 says form a single x term by factoring out x, so I want to form a single c term by factoring out the c. Notice that c is a common factor of the two terms, and I can tell that I have factored it out correctly if, when I multiply back, do I get exactly what I started with? Well, if I multiply the c back on the first term, I'd get 4bc. That's what I had. If I multiply c onto the second term, I'd get 3ac. That's what I had, so I have taken out c correctly. And now I'm down to the last step, reverse what is done to c. And of course, to reverse what is done to c, you have to know what is done to c. And c is multiplied by that bracket. So to reverse what is done to c, I will divide by that bracket. On the left side, my 4b minus 3a's cancel, and I'm left with c. On the right side, I cannot reduce. I cannot cancel the 4 with the 8. The reason is the minus sign on the bottom. You can only cancel when it is all multiplication, top and bottom. So I have to leave the answer this way. Now there is one simplification I can do. You'll recall from intro algebra, it is always the case that a minus b is the opposite of b minus a. That is, you can reverse the two numbers in subtraction, but when you do that, you change the overall expression to a negative. Now, to get rid of the negative on top, I'm going to reverse the numbers on the bottom. I'll do it over here. I'll say c is equal to negative 8ab over, and when I reverse the numbers on the bottom, 3a minus 4b, that will put a negative out front. And now I've got negative over negative, which is positive. So now I can just write it as 8ab over 3a minus 4b. And that's about as simple as I can make that answer. Now, if you left the answer this way, it would still be a valid answer. If I took off any points at all, which I probably wouldn't, I would only take off 1 point for that, because that's not much of a simplification, but it's a slight simplification, so I pointed it out to you. And that completes the podcast on literal equations.